Hi, thanks for joining me today. I'm going to do a book review of a book that I just finished. The book is called Stoner by John Williams. I had watched several BookTube videos where people had recommended this book, so the recommendations were good enough that I thought I wanted to read this book, and so that's what I did. After I read it, I watched some of the videos again, and I realized that my view of this book was very different than many of the videos I've seen on BookTube. So I was kind of reluctant to have a contrary opinion, but I've tried to say my honest opinions about things, even if they're unpopular or contrary to what other people are saying. When somebody has an opinion on a book, it's okay to have an opinion, but you got to support it. You got to say where you're coming from. You got to say how you came to that conclusion. That's my plan in here, is to state my opinion and to state where I'm coming from and why I say that. So in this book, Stoner, it's pretty much the entire life of one man. And it starts in his boyhood and his farm life, and then he goes to college and he realizes that he likes academia, and he wants to pursue a life in academics as a teacher, professor. So then it covers his life. Now, many people have really praised this book, really high praises. This is their favorite book. That's why I wanted to read it. But after I read it, I was kind of thought they didn't get it, because and it doesn't have to necessarily do with the writing. The writing is fine, though it's not great. It's a very simple story where one character is the prevalent through the whole thing. None of these other characters are very well developed, and we only know what's going on inside of the mind of the one main character, Stoner. So to me, that's kind of a simple setup. It's a simple narrative. You know, to me, actually, I like complicated narratives where you kind of get stronger characters and we know what other people are thinking. But in this one, it's all, I think it's called a first-person narrative. One thing about and the writing is fine. It's good. It's a well-developed novel, and it deserves praise as a complete novel with a character that's fully developed. But as far as I feel like I didn't like this character Stoner, and I'll tell you why. He grows up on a farm which is kind of very conservative, and then he decides to become a teacher. He's just too stoic for me, and he should have known better. And he's an example of why this kind of stoicism is bad. For me, he's kind of like a Garrison Keillor, northern, quiet man who's kind of a good man, and he works hard and he cares about his things, but he don't say much. He's a quiet guy, but everybody kind of respects him, and he's non-emotional, right? And I'm here to say that I think that's a bad way to live, especially for men. That's a bad way to live. And I'm saying that from my own experience. I spent many years as thinking that this was the way that you should be. This quiet guy who's not emotional and is self-effacing, kind of acts like they're not important. Now, the thing is that I think makes him likable to many readers is that while outwardly he appears to be non-emotional and has an inability to emote, he inwardly, we know his inward thoughts because the narrator is telling us what he thinks inwardly, but he's not expressing these inward thoughts outwardly. You see, so when he has problems in his marriage, it rises to a certain point where he's kind of dissatisfied with his wife, but he doesn't express it. The opportunity arises to express his emotion and his feelings, and he's like, oh, it's not important. Oh, this isn't that important. And so the moment passes and it all moves away. And there's a moment where a man he really liked died in the war, and he's kind of talking about it, and then the emotion passes and he doesn't explore it with his friends and express his emotion about the death of his friend. And then there are moments in his career where he has an opportunity to advance, and he's like, oh, it's not important, I'm not gonna go there, I'm just happy being a professor. And so to me, he's an example of what not to do. You should know your emotions. You should express your emotions. Being emotional and expressing your emotions through words is an important part of being a man. And this guy doesn't do it. So he's like half a man to me. And like I said, I've been this way. I know it doesn't work. It's the wrong way to go. And in the way I see this, what happens in this book is his emotions build up, and there's this conflict in his professional life where he feels that he's on a committee to award a PhD to a student, and he feels like this student is not qualified to be awarded a PhD. So he kind of builds up this big resistance, and he at this time he exposes his emotions, but they're kind of not well founded in a way, and he's not very open-minded. He's kind of wants the kid to be like him, and he's not. The guy's a different type of person. He's a different personality. So he faults him for that, I think. To me, this whole conflict of the novel between him and this professional dispute is really because he's dissatisfied with other parts of his life. Now, there's another storyline where he falls in love with one of his students, and he abandons all his conservative precepts and pursues this forbidden relationship with his student. And so I think a lot of people who are watching have this sentimentality about Stoner, where they feel like he's just trying hard and he finally fell in love, and then he pursues this love, and then his life really starts to collapse. And that's woven into the professional dispute. It just feels like a lot of the unfoldings of his life were based on the way that he ran his life. He kind of should have known better, because he likes literature. He reads books. Books are filled with characters. When I read books, I examine the character of the person who's in the book. And I think, oh, am I like that? Should I be like that? Do I know anybody like that? To me, what you should do when you read books is examine characters and kind of learn from them. And yet he had read many books where people are emotional, where people are romantic, where people do share their emotions, and yet he didn't pick that up. He didn't ever figure that out in books. He studied literature, and he didn't apply what he read about in literature to his real life. And I'm like, that seems kind of an obvious thing to do, and he didn't figure that out. But that's who he is. So, and I also think that when he had that opportunity to get promoted, he should have taken the opportunity, because his rival took the promotion, and then his rival didn't like him and caused a lot of problems for him. And it seems like he really resented his rival, where he wasn't promoted and his rival was promoted. And it seems like he really held a resentment toward that rival. And then that's what was going on when he disputed this PhD character, because the PhD student was a favorite of the rival. What else do I have? Another problem with Stoner. Because he doesn't emote, he's wearing a mask. He's wearing this, competent mask in front of everybody. And if you want to wear a mask, you can wear a mask. Lots of people wear masks. But I think that the real people who are living their lives are authentic to their real selves and discard the mask, and they get angry, and they are happy, and they have joy, and they have pain, and they share their emotions. So that's my view of this book. I'm going to leave it at that. I think I shared everything I wanted to say. Thanks for watching.